ship company at ease. Better? Not in my remarks. I'm happy it's a gorgeous New England day, indicative of my 2 years of service here. Start by saying, hi, how are you? That's my token one there. Good morning to all our distinguished guests, friends, and family. I want to set something straight immediately before I get into my remarks. I'm sure that a good deal of you turned out to watch me publicly insult my boss, Captain Perry, and detailers at the same time, just like I did in 2007. Sorry to disappoint everyone, that is not going to happen. Captain Perry was never a detailer. Captain, thank you for those kind remarks as well, sir. In all seriousness, I am so thankful, grateful, and elated that all of you could attend our change of command today. I stand before you a humbled man. In fact, I feel compelled to refer to a Whitey Herzog quote circa 1987. He's quoted all while unpacking Minnesota faced the Twins in the World Series. I don't know how we got here, but this should be interesting. I reference this only because the last 2 years on board Tiger Shark have moved by so quickly that it seems surreal that I'm now departing. Most importantly, the group of distinguished overachievers to my left certainly had everything to do with all of us getting here, and to say it was interesting would be a grave injustice. This was an epic adventure, one that I would repeat in the blink of an eye with this team of dedicated professionals. And I am going to cry. I would like to talk briefly about how I think really more of a somewhat pieced together how we expeditiously arrived here at my departure. This would be the Tiger Shark leadership philosophy, and I'm boosting a copy of this with me as I depart to use at a later date. Those in the audience that have the privilege of being a part of this glorious organization know that at any given time the Coast Guard will force an impromptu blast of leadership in your face. Usually at the most inconvenient of times, when 8 other reports are due, or when you have to get underway and it's blowing 30 to 40 knots offshore, or all the above. There are 26 identified leadership competencies. I won't be naming them. Instead, I'd like to talk about how I use the greatest hits album approach. See, sailors for the most part really enjoy the products of our hard work. But we also don't mind following in someone else's wake if that is available. And in this regard, I think that we, the crew of Tiger Shark, sound great as a cover band of some of the great leaders out there, all while reinventing these great tunes for new generations to absorb and play over and over again. Those here that know me well know that I have a tendency, 1, to make ridiculous claims. 2, to talk ad nauseum with my hands. I try to look best in my uniform. Hit tables or desks in a show of explosive enthusiasm and approval. I would do it now, and the speaker will blow. I try to keep a good sense of humor and always try to put a positive spin on whatever is taking place. These traits are the distillations of great leaders that I have served with in my very brief career, and a reflection of this outstanding crew. People like Captain Chris Grego, who unfortunately could not be here today, but nonetheless has been an outstanding mentor for me throughout my time here on board Tiger Shark. I would sail anywhere, anytime with him, even as an ops boss. Again. CPS, that is his internal code name, and ironically his initials too, made a clever abbreviation out of his name, common practical sense. It's a term that I use every time we leave the pier. One that the watchstanders love to imitate in a playful fashion to watch me wind up like a toy tank. I grinned like an idiot the other day when I heard one of our junior watchstanders use it the other day without any prompting. The other characteristics are not wholly owned by CPS. He does not have the sole franchise in these traits. Rather, there are a number of people present here today that embody, evoke, and execute these traits on a daily basis. Commander John O'Connor is here today, current Chief of Officer Candidate School, and he may have the franchise on the uniform appearance I referenced. Honestly, the commander really could be his own cardboard cutout. Master Chief Downing, Chief Warrant Officer Gutline, also practiced the majority of the above. Clearly, I'm trying to be a knockoff of the heroes of District 1. Some other folks that I would like to recognize as true experts at the majority of the above identified tendencies are my dad, or the DR for those in the brevity, my mom, or Murph for those in sounding ridiculous. My wife, she not only exemplifies these traits, but she also brings it out to me better than anyone else I know. And of course, every single crew member of the Coast Guard Cutter Tiger Shark. That's about it for leadership for me. I'll move on to my memoirs of this mythical place. I would refer to flirted with his fantasy land from time to time, but I'm compelled to use one other Woody Herzog quote that I thought was particularly fitting. This was his theory about how to be a good ball player. Herzog's rules, he called it. Be on time, bust your butt, play smart, have some laughs while you're doing it. I think we accomplished that. So again, I've tried to keep these memoirs as brief, relevant, and entertaining as possible. I would like to open with our collective success and pleasure that we take in the enforcement of striped bass regulations. Some of you here, like Matt Worth, Dave Warbell, and Chief Leeson, know all too well my penchant for protecting these delicious creatures. Those not familiar, well, it's fairly easy. The law is you can fish for stripers within 3 nautical miles of land in some special areas here and there. And if some of you are yawning, well, here's the real comical part. You know, stripers is spelled with only 1 P. If you were to say draft an official message to document rigorous enforcement action in the hottest spot for stripers on the East Coast, then let's just say, hypothetically, you threw an extra P in the stripers. Please pay attention. Well, you would be documenting how you found 3 deceased strippers. 3.5 nautical miles on Long Island. And how there is a need for continued law enforcement presence to curb the fishing for strippers in this area. It's all purely hypothetical. No one that actually did this. And that same guy almost certainly did not use the stern notch, the place where our embarked small boat resides, to catch 2 of these fish in an effort at showing off. Stripers really became a distinct recipe for humor on board the mighty worship of death. We watched an angler in the Cape Cod Canal reel in a monster. I, of course, used the loud hailer to congratulate him. And we remarked that we thought it was unusual that there was a striper in the canal. Senior Chief, without pause, who was on the bridge, immediately said, "What, are you kidding me? Stripers want to take a shortcut too?" We felt so strongly about striper protection that we even threw the fish on our challenge coins as a means to commemorate our relentless dedication to the protection of the fish stock. Another ridiculous fishing activity that we observed is tuna harpooning. I'm not joking about this, and it was really one of the strangest things I've ever seen. It really evokes memoirs of Moby Dick. You see these individuals out there, they follow around humpback whales along the New Hampshire-Massachusetts coast looking for schools of feeding fish. These fish are also the main source of the food for the Atlantic bluefin tuna. The fish gorge themselves on the tiny little fish and then lazily float around, a lot like me after Thanksgiving. The harpooners creep up, throw their harpoons in the fish, and then electrocute them, not to humanely spare the fish the fight, instead to preserve the fat content. Unbelievable. On this very trip, we also observed at least 40 whales and even had a drive-by visit by one at about a range of 20 feet. A memory that I will forever cherish. We also agreed that the best port call we ever had was at Portland, Maine. Yet another epic couple of days. It snowed more than it did not. We were down a generator and broken. But we definitely discovered during those days that this was no ordinary patrol boat crew. I feel it's appropriate to reference the Urban Dictionary definition of team here. Those of you not familiar with this gem, the Urban Dictionary, should immediately check it out. I really enjoyed definition number 4. The people you always roll with, basically your crew or clique. They gave a representative example. As in, I'm rolling deep to the club with my team. Moving on.